He basically on tape said he was doing it while he was doing the crime, which is the worst thing you can do if you want to do a crime. Law tip 101. Do not, on the record, say that you are doing the crime while engaging in the crime, the criminal act itself. Okay? Law tip number 2. Do not actually ever admit that you did the crime, whether it's on tape or not. Okay? These seem like very simple rules to do crime. And yet, for some reason, Donald Trump routinely finds himself violating these incredibly simple to follow rules, which is why we are now at the indictment situation. Now, we've watched this whole fucking thing, and I've yet to see what Joe Rogan had to say about this. Where is Joe Rogan? This entire video has basically been 3 fucking dickheads and all the people tuning in to the show saying, Donald Trump's kind of fucked, dog, but like also people don't want to see it that way. So it's like maybe he's not fucked up. Because I haven't heard anything from these guys that leads to Donald Trump's innocence at all. If anything, they are basically saying, yeah, he's kind of fucked. But like, what about Joe Biden?
This morning on Fox and Friends First, who made a good point, and it's so obvious, but it just dawned on me. He said, you know, in other countries, we see political opponents get thrown in prison because of something that they have done in the past, or just as a corrupt government, a banana republic. And we've seen that down in Venezuela and Caracas. We've seen that in other countries. And that's what's happening here, it seems.
Andy McCarthy, who said if half of this is true, the president's in real trouble. He also said Jim Jordan should demand, as chairman of the Oversight Committee, an update on what's happened with Joe Biden. Because you can't sit there, and if Jack Smith's going to come out and says no one's above the law and equal justice for all, people don't buy that, whether you love Jack Smith or not. He's had some problems in the past in this prosecution. Look at Governor McDonald over in Virginia. So having said that, if you want equal justice, then just show me the equal justice on Joe Biden. And if you tell me you're not done, how about an update? Because a lot's at stake here. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan picked out something that's been abundantly true.
I think one of the funniest, finally they get to Joe Rogan. I think one of the funniest thing is demanding that they actually reveal more information. Knowing what I know about Donald Trump, don't demand more information about Donald Trump's court case. Because knowing what I know about Donald Trump, the more information comes out, the more illegal he will look. The more, it's just, I think that's Brian Kilmeade saying like, come on, give us some updates on the case because I like Ron DeSantis. I'm in the fucking bag. I want Ron DeSantis to win, and that's why I want you to reveal more information. Unless you're talking about the Biden situation.
Is that Joe Biden's been lying his entire professional life. He's been lying about the speeches he had. He's been lying about his grades in college. He's been lying about the double major he never had, his athletic scholarship he didn't get. And he goes way, way back, and it's continuing today. He brought that up on his podcast.
All the stuff with his son and the ties to Ukraine and China and the money, the family they got paid millions of dollars, and everyone's trying to obscure it because, well, it's better than Trump. If that guy was a Republican, they would be up his ass with a microscope.
I know, it is unbelievable.
They went with this corrupt career politician.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild stuff, man. The media is overwhelmingly left-leaning. And if you have a left-leaning politician or a left-wing Democratic politician, and then you have this media that essentially works to support that person, I mean, they ignore any information that leads to distrust in the government or distrust in this administration.
Left-wing media, sure. Showing Joe Rogan in this regard is identical to showing the random guy that we were looking at, the sweaty fucking weirdo with the Confederate flag patches. Now, is Joe Rogan a defender of the Confederacy? Well, I haven't really seen that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he would be. What do I mean by this, though? Joe Rogan is, sure, a content creator himself, and one that routinely talks about politics. But Joe Rogan as a person is no different than the average conservative dumbass. So in that regard, it's basically the same as like showing any Trump supporter. Like showing any Republican and being like, look, this is what they're saying about the Trump situation. It's like, yeah, of course, because he's a fucking idiot. Like, he is a mark. He's a rube. He's been brainwashed by your dumb shit. So you're, again, flexing. Here's how we brainwash Joe Rogan. That's what the title should say.
Administration or distrust in this party, this political party?
Yeah, it's the dark arts, man.
Yesterday on Fox News Sunday, which was the same show that Bill Barr said,
Brilliant.
if half the stuff is true about Trump, he's toast. Donald Trump's attorney, Alina Habba, who's not representing him on the Mar-a-Lago case, said that Mr. Trump would soon make a determination whether or not he wants a speedy trial, which he is entitled to. And also she said that she did not envision in any world would he ever take a plea deal.
Right.
Just not gonna
And by the way, in no world will he ever want a speedy trial, ever. This guy will drag it out, and he should, as long as he could, as long as he can. It'll take about a year. Drag it out, build up his case. He's got to go 37 for 37 and then run for president. And the best thing he could do, as Adrian said to Rocky after being in her coma for way too long in Rocky.
Brian, we know you're in the pocket of Big Rhonda. Hiya. No. I sprayed the bitter chew spray on the area of the shelf that she's chewing, and it didn't do shit. She's just... I thought it worked. I thought when you spray it, like, they don't actually chew it and they don't actually lick it. She's like, oh, no, I love spicy food.
Rocky too. He said, Rocky,
Fight.
come here. No. Do you remember?
She woke up and
She woke up and she said, Rocky.
She said, fight, right? Go
Nope.
fight. Go
Steve,
do it.
do you remember?
I saw that movie 45 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, what'd she say?
She said,
Hiya.
win.
Win.
And then Nick said, what are we waiting for? And if he wins, he exonerates himself. Right.
And the music starts.
You remember that, Chris?
Dun-dun-dun.
Thank you. You were no help.
All right, well, Donald Trump says even if he's convicted, he says, I will never leave. He said, this is third world country stuff. You get indicted over nothing.
Leave the race.
Ridiculous, baseless, most horrific abuses of power in the history of our country. He said that in Georgia at the Republican event.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley.
I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word.
Oh, fuck.
I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't.
Imagine a guy who's actively sitting in jail on the presidential ticket on election day. Eugene V. Debs, America's most famous socialist leader, won 1 million plus votes from prison. So that has happened already, and it can happen again, and maybe it will.
Doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified. Service members here in North Carolina have risked their lives to acquire classified intelligence to protect our country.
We are joined now by Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who's endorsed Donald Trump for president in 2024. Senator Graham, thank you for joining us this morning. Donald Trump has said repeatedly that he did nothing wrong. Do you believe that?
Well, here's what I believe. We live in an America where if you're the Democratic candidate for president, Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, you can set up a private server in your basement to conduct government business. And when an investigation is had about your activity, no, let me finish.
But you didn't answer the question.
I love when Lindsey Graham tries to act tough against George Stephanopoulos. Like, dude, you literally eat Trump's ass on a daily fucking basis. You are the most pathetic fucking loser in the Republican Party. You have lost every single ounce of, like, dignity that you already didn't really have much of. In the past, like, 8 years, brother, there is nothing. Let me finish. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You and Ted Cruz, well, Ted Cruz was already disliked. At least Lindsey Graham was like besties with fucking the Maverick John McCain. So like he was like seen as a statesman with like a little bit of respect.
That was ridiculous. Well, yeah, I'm trying to answer the question from a Republican point of view. That may not be acceptable on this show. Yes, I don't like what President Trump did in certain aspects. I don't like that Joe Biden had classified information on the garage. I don't like that Mike Pence carelessly took classified information. I don't like any of that. But what I don't like is a system in America where the Secretary of State, who's a Democratic candidate for president, has people take a hammer to social media devices and break them apart, apply bleach bit to a hard drive to erase emails.
Okay. Why didn't Trump do anything about it? I personally would have absolutely loved a Hillary Clinton jail arc. I demand a Hillary Clinton jail arc. I think we were robbed of a Hillary Clinton jail arc. I think it's bullshit that we didn't get it. That's a major L for Trump. That doesn't mean anything about Trump's current predicament, though. It doesn't change anything at all.
Allow classified information to get on a felon's computer, Anthony Weiner. You haven't even mentioned that. Most Republicans believe we live in a country where Hillary Clinton did very similar things and nothing happened to her. President Trump will have his day in court, but espionage charges are absolutely ridiculous. Whether you like Trump or not, he did not commit espionage. He did not disseminate, leak, or provide information to a foreign power or to a news organization to damage this country. He is not a spy. He's overcharged. Did he do things wrong? Yes, he may have. He will be.
I love that he said he's overcharged. First of all, you're just describing how prosecution works. Okay? Yeah. Do I think Trump got more charges than he deserves? Of course. What do you mean? That's how you're supposed to do it. As long as the charges themselves are not like are prosecutable, okay, and they're not like murder in the case of a manslaughter, for example, where like reasonable doubt could potentially clear someone of wrongdoing. That's kind of the point. That's like literally the entire point of why they charge him in the way that they do, because ultimately they need to get they don't need to get 32 charges to stick. They need to get 3 or 4 or 1. He needs to beat every single one of them. Okay? So, he's kind of fucked on that front. So Lindsey Graham's counter here to say, oh, well, they overcharged him. Is nothing. Okay, sure, they overcharged him. How's he going to beat some of these? How is he going to beat some of these charges that he is, caught dead to rights?
Be tried about that, but Hillary Clinton wasn't. Your old boss committed perjury in a civil lawsuit, lost his law license, obstructed justice in a dozen ways, and he didn't get prosecuted. I know.
And he was impeached. Well, Senator,
he was impeached, but he wasn't prosecuted.
You've made your point. But you also said something that I believe is not true based on what's.
I love that he hit him with a "your old boss." That's awesome.
In the indictment, you said that he did not disseminate any of this information. In fact, there's an audio tape in the indictment where he's talking about the secret information, saying he knows it's secret, knows it's not declassified.
Okay, let's talk about that. I don't know what happened. I haven't.
Dude, he said, okay, let's talk about that. I think the reason why he said that, first of all, got him. If you're getting got by George Stephanopoulos, retire. Okay? You went on this interview because he does not fucking push back. So let's make one thing clear. Georgie boy here fucking hit him with that backhand, and I don't think he is ready for it in the sense that I think they probably discussed it ahead of time that that wasn't going to come up. Okay. But let's see. What is this? The replies to Michael J. Knowles. I'm banned for YouTube for a week after my second strike. This is not for believing in transgenderism. It's my second because I have a life to... That's awesome.
Audio, but look at who's been charged under Espionage Act.
Look, deflect. He's deflecting. He's like, I didn't read it. Why didn't you? First of all, you did. Isn't he in like wasn't he in the fucking Senate Judiciary Committee? Or like what am
classified?
Okay, let's talk about that. I don't know what happened. I haven't heard the audio, but look at who's been charged under Espionage Act. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning, people who turn over classified information.
Hey, Chelsea mentioned, friend of the show.
To news organizations to hurt the country or provide it to a foreign power. That did not happen here. Donald Trump, you may hate his guts, but he is not a spy. He did not commit espionage. What he did is very similar, in my view, to what Hillary Clinton did. People in the Clinton case took a hammer to a BlackBerry and destroyed it. They wiped clean with bleach bit emails. They said they were all personal, but some of them actually were classified, and it wound up on Anthony Weiner's computer, and not a damn thing happened to her.
Senator, first of all, she was fully investigated. They found the investigation found no intentional holding back. Well, fine. Donald Trump was president for 4 years. He had his Justice Department in place for 4 years.
Give me a break.
But setting.
Yeah, and they didn't do shit. Say it, George. You fucking pussy. Just say it.
That aside, there is an audio tape of Donald Trump saying he knows this is secret information. He knows he's sharing it with other people. How is that okay?
I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying it's okay to take a hammer to a BlackBerry. I think none of this is okay. When Chris Coons, my good friend will be on in a minute, when we view classified information, we have to sign in, go into a room, and turn it back over. You got vice presidents, secretary of states, and presidents handling this stuff. You had Bill Clinton with tapes in his sock drawer. I would like to review the system, but here's the point I'm trying to make. What's happening in Manhattan to Donald Trump has never happened to anybody in the history of New York. I think the espionage charges are completely wrong, and I think they paint an impression that doesn't exist. This is not espionage. And I do believe, George, that most people on my side of the aisle believe when it comes to Donald Trump, there are no rules, and you can do the exact same thing or something very similar as a Democrat, and nothing happens to you. Here's the bottom line.
Hold on a second, Senator.
The leading candidate for president of the United States on the Republican side is being prosecuted by his opponent.
Had Donald Trump turned over the documents as Mike Pence did, and you heard our legal panel address that as well, we wouldn't be sitting here today. There would be no case. There would be no case at all.
Well, I don't know if that's true. He believes he has the power to do that. He will argue the Presidential Records Act. I don't know if he's right or not. There'll be a trial about this, but I cannot stress to you enough that we live in a world today where most Republicans believe that Hunter Biden's laptop was real and people knew it was real, but they told the public something else to help Joe Biden. We live in a world where it takes 4 years to investigate Hunter Biden, and you can go after Donald Trump in about 18 months. I know you don't get what I'm saying, but people on my side believe it, and I think Donald Trump is stronger today politically than he was before. I think the espionage charges are ridiculous. I think what happened to Hillary Clinton, where she got away with it, is very similar to what happened to the President Trump, and we'll have an election and we'll have a trial. But I promise you this, most Americans believe, most Republicans believe, that the law is used as a weapon against Donald Trump.
Well, sir, I've heard that. I've heard your attack on President Biden and his Justice Department. I've heard your attack on Hillary Clinton. I've heard your attack on Bill Clinton. What I've not heard from you is a defense of Donald Trump's behavior and why you think that's the kind of behavior you want to see in the President of the United States.
I'm not justifying his behavior. If it were up to me, nobody would take classified information.
But you're endorsing him for President of the United States. You're saying he should be President of the United States.
Yeah, I think what's happening here is trying to delegitimize him, is what I'm saying. The game has changed for future presidents. Bill Clinton under the...
You get fucking cooked by George Stephanopoulos, retire. I can't say anything other than, like, first of all, he's such a cuck, dude. He literally did this like he's so spineless. He's such a cuck. I can't repeat this enough times, okay? But like on top of that, you're going on ABC this week to get fucking eviscerated by George motherfucking Stephanopoulos. Like, it's just so bad. These guys are allergic to any kind of serious pushback. And yet here you are getting fucking owned because, like, Trump is bad and he's caught dead to rights in this situation, right? Like, you're not going to be able to message your way out of this for an ABC audience. You're not. I don't know why you would go on ABC. When Bernie Sanders goes on Fox News and conducts a town hall there, no matter how much they attack him, the fundamentals are still solid and he will still look like he is an honest guy. I don't understand why Lindsey Graham does this unless he's that desperate for fucking donors and he's that desperate for Trump clout that he's like, look, for you, I fell on a fucking sword on ABC's this week. But because he looks so bad, the attempt alone is not going to be enough for Donald Trump to go, yeah, you did a good thing. Because Donald Trump fucking hates losers. So he's going to look at that and go, Lindsey, what the fuck did you do? You look like an idiot.
2023 standard would be prosecuted for perjury. All I can say is we're changed the game. You impeached him after he was out of office. Now you're bringing charges in Manhattan that are completely ridiculous. You're accusing the guy of being a spy through espionage. It's not going to change my support for Donald Trump. He's innocent until proven guilty. But what I'm trying to convey to you, and I'm sorry I'm not doing a better job, that most Republicans...
Oh, God, he apologized for being bad. Oh, no. Oh, brother, this stinks, dude. He is so fucking cucked. Oh, brother, this stinks. I'm sorry. I'm going to hold the L here real quick. Let me tell you something, okay? Let me tell you something. You fucked me up, okay? I'm sorry about that.
Believe that the law now is a political tool, that Hunter Biden's laptop story was that the people in charge had their thumb on the scale, and that the reason it was not known to be true in October of 2024 before the election is the intelligence community wanted you to believe it was Russian disinformation when it wasn't. This double standard is real in the minds of most Republicans.
Yeah, it's cope. Like, saying this double standard is real in the minds of Republicans, most Republicans, doesn't mean anything. Okay? You're the one who put it there. And it literally does not mean anything when it comes to the actual court case itself. I'm sorry, but like, if, you know, Harry Styles did a fucking murder, his defense could not be, Your Honor, well, I've got a lot of fans that think I did this murder, but it was a good thing. It was objectively a good thing. Okay? It doesn't work that way. Oh, I've got a lot of stands, yeah, so it's allowed. It's allowed for me to do. Right, fucking hell. Let me do a wee bit of murder. Okay, that's fine. You got a lot of fucking HVAC business owners and jet ski dealership owners to literally lose their minds. And deny objective reality. That's fine. That doesn't mean anything. You're just flexing that you have that power, I guess. That's it.
Senator, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George
Stephanopoulos here, and I fucking eviscerated Lindsey Graham.
Trump's former U.S. Attorney General is calling Trump's claims of a witch hunt ridiculous. Bill Barr says the indictment is very damning and described the government's case against Trump as solid.
And this idea of presenting Trump as a victim here, a victim of a witch hunt, is ridiculous. Yes, he's been a victim in the past. Yes, his adversaries have obsessively pursued him with phony claims, and I've been at his side defending against them when he is a victim. But this is much different. He's not a victim here. He was totally wrong that he had the right to have those documents. Those documents are among the most sensitive secrets that the country has. They have to be in the custody of the archivist. He had no right to maintain them and retain them. And he kept them in a way at Mar-a-Lago that anyone who really cares about national security, their stomach would churn at it.
So, Caitlin, bring us more about what Bill Barr, the former Attorney General for the former President Trump, had to say.
Well, Fred, this has really been an extraordinary reaction from the former Attorney General Bill.
Conservatives are mad at Barr. I read the Fox comments. It doesn't matter. They already think he was a fake and a phony. Bill Barr already fucked over Trump.
Barr and really across the legal community to the level of detail that is in this indictment of Donald Trump. 31 counts of individual documents that Donald Trump is accused of retaining at Mar-a-Lago where he shouldn't have had them, says the Justice Department, and that there are photos of these sorts of documents kept in a bathroom with a chandelier in it, in a storage closet where there's spilled
bathroom with a chandelier in it. Okay, well, the chandelier part is like weird, but I don't think it's. I don't. I don't think it's relevant to the case.
Over the floor. That is the level of detail that has caused a really, really widespread reaction of how serious this case is as a national security case and how serious the risk was for Donald Trump to have these boxes of documents after the presidency. Here's a little bit more from Bill Barr on Fox News on Sunday.
Here, I think the government acted responsibly. They gave him every opportunity to return those documents. They acted with restraint. They were very deferential to him, and they were very patient. They talked to him for almost a year to try to get those documents, and he jerked them around. They finally went to a subpoena, and what did he do? According to the government, he lied and obstructed that subpoena. And then they did a search, and they found a lot more documents. And they're not even, I don't think they're even sure now whether they have everything. So they acted in a very patient way, and what were they were met.
Yeah, a lot of people are pointing out that there was a photocopier in one of the rooms. I find that to be strange as well. But also, Hasan is defending the chandelier because he has one in his bathroom. I do not. I have two. I have two bathrooms with chandeliers in them. And they're fine. They're perfectly fine chandeliers.
With was, according to the government and the indictment, very egregious obstruction.
Now, Fred, contrast that with Bill Barr previously when he was Attorney General and even after he left the Trump administration, believing that Donald Trump should not have had a special counsel previously investigating him and his 2016 campaign, that was not an investigation that the FBI should have been embarking on at that time. A very different tune from Donald Trump's own Attorney General, someone very, very linked to his administration. And so now, Fred, we're going to be waiting for the next 2 days. About 48 hours from now is when Trump will be arriving to the federal courthouse here to have his arraignment, his initial appearance, to tell the court he is not guilty to these charges. And that will be kicking off quite a process in the federal system where the court will be moving towards a trial to have a jury look at the evidence that the Justice Department has gathered here and decide if they believe that the former president of the United States is guilty of these crimes he's charged with. Fred?
Yeah, a highly anticipated, unprecedented day on Tuesday. They're scheduled in Miami. Caitlin Polantz, thank you so much. All right, Ron Brownstein back with us now. All right, adding to how extraordinary it is to hear from
MAGA getting angry in Florida, we're going to look at that. But here, before we look at that, the top of the hour ad break is upon us. And behind that top of the hour ad break, which is kind of like a paywall, I'm going to show you what happened behind the fear and paywall. That's right. I just saw it and I retweeted it. But if you want to see what happens behind the fear and paywall, all you need to go do is go to patreon.com/fearand. Or if you want to see it now, because I'm going to show it to you, well, there's a 3-minute ad break, and you can either wait out the duration and hope that I'm still looking at the photos, or subscribe for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Or you can get gifted a sub. If you're lucky, here's a 3-minute ad break now. I'm in the Philly D Thumbo again. Oh, nice. Okay, so here's what we did at the end of the Fear End episode. Austin and I. He literally licked my fucking biceps. That's the kind of shit we do behind the Fear End Patreon paywall. Favorite daddy. I mean... This is... I can't hear anything. This sucks. Use it on... This isn't allowed, babe. Why not? Your favorite dad. Austin gave you the skin rash? No, yeah, that way I would know where we got the skin rash. I think I still happen to believe that it's a unfortunate allergy related. I think that's the reason why all those weirdos hate you, man. You're the guy that bullied them in high school. I guess. But like, I was bullied. So, and I'm still getting bullied by the fucking nerds who, just like me, were bullied. I wasn't the bully in high school. I was bullied. Hurt people, hurt people. Nowadays, I just bully fucking random weirdos who are hateful bigots. Like, it's not like I'm bullying fucking... It's not like I'm bullying people who don't deserve it. Maybe sometimes. But for the most part, I'm shitting on like the likes of Ben Shapiro. I'm shitting on the likes of Trump supporters. I'm shitting on Donald Trump. I'm shitting on Ron DeSantis. I'm shitting on Nancy Pelosi. You know what I mean? I'm not shitting on like a random person unless they have demonstrated that they are fucked up in some way, like they're being hateful or bigoted.
From Bill Barr, the former U.S. Attorney General, that he brought his sentiments to Fox News. I mean, that is quite striking as well. You know, flip side to that, you know, among some of Trump's allies on Capitol Hill, this is how they are rallying around the former president in this way. Listen.
He says point blank on tape, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't. He says in his own words, it's on tape as part of this indictment that he did not declassify the material. Therefore, it is classified.
Saying he could have is not the same as saying he didn't.
He said now I can't.
No, oh my God. Jimothy Jordan. Why are you doing this? Is it that hard? Like, are these dudes that fucking desperate? God damn. He literally said, I could have declassified it and now I can't. That means he did not declassify it. Come on, dude.
Classified this material. He said that meant Now he can't, right, because he's not president now, but when he was
Which
president,
means
he
that
did
it's
declassify.
classified.
He said that.
President Trump will have.
That is so bad. Oh, God, that's so awesome. That's so fucking dope. I love that.
Have his day in court, but espionage charges are absolutely ridiculous. Whether you like Trump or not, he did not commit espionage. He did not disseminate, leak, or provide information to a foreign power or to a news organization to damage this country. He is not a spy. He's overcharged. Did he do things wrong? Yes, he may have.
On the IP. So, Ron, those comments either ignore or try to explain away what's in the indictment, a 49-page indictment. And these are some of Trump's elected loyalists. Are they doing this because they believe their arguments, or they just want to make sure that they keep Trump supporters, voters, in their corners?
It's probably some combination of both. I mean, you don't hear as many people trying to defend the underlying comment. The most common argument from Republicans has been basically to delegitimize the entire investigation as inherently political or inherently weaponized, the same way they reacted to the indictment in New York, to the civil verdict against him on a sexual abuse trial. I mean, the basic argument is that there is a conspiracy so vast, as Joe McCarthy might have said, in kind of all of these different institutions to produce all of these unfounded allegations against Donald Trump. And they are both cementing and reflecting the dominant view inside the Republican coalition. But as I said, outside of the Republican coalition, not surprisingly, Fred, multiple criminal indictments is not a way to broaden your support. And I think there's evidence of that in polling both before and after this indictment. But the Republican.
Yeah, I just don't see how the guy who lost the last presidential election is going to do a fucking comeback tour. And this time, all of the people that actually didn't vote for him, specifically like moderates, independents, that sort of stuff that swung in Biden's direction, are going to turn around and go, oh, it's actually better now because now he's also in jail. Like, I don't see how this helps him. Okay. Yeah, it puts him in the forefront. It gets him more media coverage. People start talking about him, and that usually favors Donald Trump, certainly. But I just don't think that, I don't think that you're going to be able to put together a viable national coalition unless the Democrats fuck this up super hard, which, by the way, they kind of are already. The Democratic Party standpoint in situations like this quite literally is, let's just be on standby. Let's just wait. Let's just allow everything to happen, and let's not say anything about it for the most part. Let's not run our mouths. It's swinging in our favor anyway. Like, I haven't even seen them weaponize this shit at all. And I think partially they're terrified that it's going to look like they're partial, right? Oh, it's you guys control the government and you're doing this. Oh, he admitted it. And then partially it's because they're going to end up fucking it up regardless somehow.
Republicans who believe this is a problem, either because it shows behavior that should not get into the Oval Office again, or even on a more crass political grounds that it does not suggest he would be a strong general election nominee. By and large, they are once again biting their tongue and allowing the Trump defenders to drive the dialogue in Red America.
All right. And then there are some Republicans who are not biting their tongue, who are criticizing the president outright for his handling of these classified documents. And this is what they said, some of them today.
They have to come out and acknowledge this is different, this is serious. If even half of this stuff is true, he's in real trouble, and it is self-inflicted. And I just see too many of the candidates trying to walk around it. We'll see what happens. To your point, you have to be clear.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Chris Sununu, you got this, brother. You're so going to get this, dude. Because, in the Republican base of support, they're looking for the one guy who's, going to openly say Trump is doing bad things. This is the entire reason why all the people that are running against them are in a unique predicament where they, kind of have to defend him and shit on the criminal justice system, even though if the criminal justice system actually follows through on prosecuting Trump, then they benefit from it because it becomes all the more likely that one of those other idiots, including Chris Sununu, has a shot at the title. I guess he was gonna run, but he's not running, right? Did he drop out already? It's like Asa Hutchinson and Chris Christie are the only two Republicans that are currently running that actually have criticized Donald Trump's charges.
You're transparent. You're running against this guy. He's whooping you by 40 points. Everybody needs to come out in concert. So it's not just a Chris Christie hitting Donald Trump or this candidate hitting Donald Trump. It is a party message. That's very, very important because Donald Trump doesn't represent the Republican Party. He only represents himself.
This is bad for our country, bad for the presidency, and it is a legitimate campaign issue. We do not need to have our commander-in-chief of this country not protecting our nation's secrets. Think about when you talk about the equal application of the law. If these allegations and probable cause have been found against any military person or any public servant that wasn't named Donald Trump, they would have been indicted a long time ago.
All right, so Nunu's not running, Hutchinson is. Right. So how effectively does this give Republican challengers kind of a restart on distinguishing themselves?
Well, we're going to have to see what they do with it. As I said, I mean, there are two different arguments here that are both potentially have an audience, even in a Republican coalition. One, as Asa Hutchinson said, this is not behavior that you would expect in a president. This is a kind of a reckless attitude that calls into question the fitness of somebody to be president again. And in fact, Mike Pence, said last week in his announcement that Donald Trump and his attitude toward the Constitution, what he tried to do after the election in 2020, should not be president again. But Pence would not go the next step and say that he wouldn't support him if he was the Republican nominee in 2024, which was kind of head spinning. But there's,
because
as I
he
said,
wants the votes potentially.
Yeah, right. I mean, and then there's even a more kind of utilitarian argument for Republicans that not surprisingly, if you look at polling, voters outside of the Republican coalition are in fact disturbed by the kind of behavior that we have seen from Trump since Election Day in November 2020, from January 6th to these various indictments against him, to the civil judgment against him on sexual abuse. And you can raise the question of whether he is, an effective nominee. But Republicans feel enormous pressure to fall into line behind him. They are stitching their own straitjacket by refusing to even discuss the underlying potential validity of the facts laid out in the indictment and preemptively dismissing it as a weaponized, kind of a political witch hunt. It's a very difficult. Governor Sununu is right about one point. Donald Trump is way ahead in this race. Most Republican voters believe he won in 2020. Most Republican voters were satisfied with his presidency. You're going to have to give them a good reason to move beyond him. He is providing.
And none of these fucking nerds are, because Donald Trump is okay. Donald Trump, in many respects, is like Barack Obama, a unique once-in-a-lifetime candidate. Because the reason for why they voted for him is not because he is a elder statesman. It's not because he has a long track record of success. It's because he was new. It's because he was unique. Well, not new at all to the political process, a billionaire, but like he didn't have any fucking experience whatsoever, which he used as a weapon to wield against those who had plenty of it, because he was able to portray himself as an outsider and portray all of the other people that he was going up against as insiders who are corrupt. Now, on top of that, a lot of people voted for Donald Trump because he tells it like it is, right? As the outsider, he wouldn't hide the truth. Like he would tell you, like, "Yeah, no, these guys are fucking very corrupt. I paid for most of them," right? You can't recreate that with any of these other guys who are running. Like Doug Burnham or whatever the fuck his name is. Like the goddamn governor of North Dakota who is like a billionaire. He's not going to be able to emulate that. He's not going to be able to repeat that. Ron DeSantis is trying to do that, and it's not working. Ron DeSantis is the best Trump clone, and he objectively falls short. What about Vivek? We're having a serious discussion here. Don't ask me questions about people like Vivek, who is like the fucking Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard of fucking the Republican Party, which ironically both Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard are now in, I would say, firmly in the ranks of the Republican Party. But come on. Like, Vivek literally is such a non-entity. He is another Blake Masters, dude. We already saw what happened with Blake Masters. Chuck Grassley tells me he hasn't read the indictment because he's not a legal analyst. Previously, he chaired the Judiciary Committee. No, Chuck Grassley should have said, I haven't read the document because I don't know how to read. I'm old.
Let me assist for the purposes of more transparency on this subject.
Seems to me like he's too busy reading this shit. Sorry about that burp.
The 1023 produced to the House committees redacted reference
Gotta pee.
that the foreign national who allegedly bribed Joe and Hunter Biden allegedly has audio recordings of his conversation with them. 17 such recordings. According to the 1023, the foreign national possesses 15 audio recordings of phone calls between him and Hunter Biden. According to the 1023, the foreign national possesses 2 audio recordings of phone calls between him and then Vice President Joe Biden. These recordings were allegedly kept as a sort of insurance policy for the foreign national in case that he got into a tight spot. The 1023 also indicates that then Vice President Joe Biden may have been involved in bereavement employing Hunter Biden. Based on the facts known to the Congress and the public, it's clear that the Justice Department, the FBI, haven't nearly had the same laser focus on the Biden family. Special Counsel Jack Smith has used a recording against former President Trump. Well, what is U.S. Attorney Weiss doing with respect to these alleged Joe and Hunter Biden?
This is the Dianne Feinstein of the Republican side. Also a sexy man, as always. All right,
Former Italian.
Let's smoke on that Silvio Berlusconi pack, okay? Here he is. He's fucking dead. Mr. Bunga Bunga himself. I'm going to take Kai out real quick.
Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi has passed away at the age of 86. Self-described as the Jesus Christ of politics, his legacy is complicated, to say the least. On the international stage, he tried to play the role of statesman, happy to be friends with all and forced to try and steer Italy through what was a disastrous Euro crisis. Well, tonight we ask, how do we assess Silvio Berlusconi's legacy in Italy and beyond? Let's kick this part of the show off with Barbie Nadeau, who has this reflection.
The Jesus Christ of politics, the best political leader in Europe and the world. That is how Silvio Berlusconi once described himself. And without a doubt, he was a powerful political operator and businessman who sparked more than one scandal. And despite a string of legal trouble and dubious friends, Berlusconi always managed to bounce back.
Mi ha troppo emozionato.
He made his name as a business tycoon. He owned the famous AC Milan football club for 31 years. At one point, he was the richest man in Italy.
I have always been adored by those who have worked with me.
First elected as prime minister in 1994, he was quickly removed when his coalition partners pulled out. But he was elected to the top job twice more, in 2001 and 2008, becoming Italy's longest-serving prime minister since World War II. And voters brought him back to power in 2022 as a coalition partner with Giorgia Meloni and Matteo Salvini. Charming and with a flippant sense of humor, Berlusconi's off-the-cuff remarks and missteps with protocol were often criticized. He welcomed the newly elected U.S. president in 2008 by complimenting Barack Obama on his, quote, suntan, and left German Chancellor Angela Merkel waiting during a NATO summit. And his close friendship with Vladimir Putin got him in hot water after he disclosed he had reestablished his friendship with the Russian president in late 2022 after Putin sent him 20 bottles of Russian vodka for his birthday. He later blamed Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky for starting the war, putting him at odds with Meloni. The prime minister often surrounded himself with beautiful women. Allegations of a relationship with an 18-year-old aspiring model, which he strenuously denied, triggered a painfully public divorce. And revelations about his so-called bunga parties landed him in court on charges of abuse of power and having sex with an underage prostitute, allegations he also denied.
It is absurd to think that I have paid to have rapport with a woman.
Meanwhile, the Eurozone was going through a financial crisis. Italy was hit hard and the government's debt ballooned to 120% of the GDP in August 2011. The Italian prime minister promised to crack down on tax evasion and introduce other austerity measures, but it was not enough. Berlusconi lost his majority in parliament and was forced to resign as prime minister in November 2011. In 2012, he was convicted of corporate tax fraud and banned from public office. Months later, an Italian court found Berlusconi guilty on the charges stemming from the bunga parties. An appeals court later overturned the conviction. He was voted out of parliament in 2013. 2 years later, convicted of bribing a senator a decade before.
Did you guys see that? I just flexed on. I just showed you guys all of Kaya's capabilities. I know you were probably too focused on the bunga shit, but Kaya knows how to sit, wait, lie down, roll over.
But never served time since the statute of limitations timed out in the same year.
Yeah, Italians are the funniest because like they don't let you sit in a position of power unless you are literally doing illegal stuff.
Sono innocente.
At the age of 82, Berlusconi managed another comeback. He led his Forza Italia party in the European elections and won a seat in parliament. A month before he turned 86, he led his party back to power as the junior partner of the current ruling coalition. In the summer of 2020,
the current ruling coalition is like literally fascist, by the way. For the record, just for people to understand. Dude literally said, yeah, I have sex with minors, but I would never pay for it. No, he said something worse than that. He said something even funnier than that. He said, yeah, I have sex with minors, but it's better than being gay, I think. Didn't he say that? Yeah, he said, you know, I could have sex with minors, but at least I'm not gay.
a few weeks away from turning 84 years old, Berlusconi was struck by COVID-19 and was hospitalized for 12 days. He called that experience the most dangerous test of my life and boasted to journalists that his viral load entity of the virus
was the highest one amongst tens of thousands.
Few could match the one and only Silvio Berlusconi.
Yeah, he said Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi dismissed calls to resign on Tuesday over reports he helped a 17-year-old girl who attended parties at his house, saying it was better to like beautiful girls than to be gay. He refused to apologize for his fondness for young women and denied doing anything improper after the case of the girl known as Ruby filled Italian newspapers last week, and opposition lawmakers called for him to step down. Man. Yeah. Just the most Italian politician.
And even though the, quote, Teflon Don, as he was known, was in and out of the hospital in his later years, he always managed to look remarkably younger than his years.
Well, Barbie Nadeau joining me now live from Rome. And I know that you've interviewed Berlusconi in the past. What was your impression of him?
Well, you know, I interviewed him, this was for print. It was outside of the cameras in 2001 and again in 2006 for print articles. And he was a different man off camera than he was on camera. He was smart. He wasn't this sort of clown. He wasn't the caricature that I think he very much liked to have portrayed about himself. And I always felt, you know, that there was a little bit of that was kind of a cover to sort of be the entertainer. After all, he was an entertainer. He was a cruise ship crew, you know, singer for a short period of time as well. But I think he was a smart man. He was well studied. He understood things. He wasn't a great leader. Everyone says, you know, he was a great politician, but not such a good leader. He didn't do the best for Italy. That's obviously demonstrable in terms of the way the economy was going and things like that. But he's very much a part of the post-war Italy on so many levels. He had control of the television networks, the first private television networks. He introduced the American sitcom, you know, Dallas and some of these shows to the Italian audience. He made people want to be wealthy. You know, he was really a big part of Italian history and a part of Italy as it is today. I think very much is reflected in who Berlusconi was during those years that he was.
What? Yo, was she throwing it back for Berlusconi or what? What's happening here?
The leader, Becky.
Barbie, thank you. Well, I want to take you through some of the international reaction to the death of Silvio Berlusconi. He reported earlier the European Parliament president describing him as a fighter who led the centre-right.
Start at 10:30. Tons of stuff on Berlusconi for those of you who don't know. I mean, we covered this. I covered this when it came out, and I've covered Berlusconi on the broadcast before. He's a fucking bad guy.
Who shall you what? So in the midst of economic uncertainty, fake news and race baiting, it is clear that what Italy needs is someone to step up and lead them out of trouble. I'm talking about a bold new voice, a fresh leader of tomorrow. So please, show us, Italy, who shall be your knight in shining armour?
Forza Italia, forza di libertà.
Many thought he was politically finished, done. But Silvio Berlusconi, Italy's four-time prime minister, is making a comeback.
Oh, it's true. He's back. Silvio Berlusconi. Sorry, that's HPV. Silvio Berlusconi. Sorry, that's just a condom filled with marinara sauce. Silvio Berlusconi has returned. And the most recent polls actually had his coalition in the lead. So if Italy is seriously considering taking Berlusconi back, it is worth the rest of us brushing up on him because he is one of history's most ludicrous humans. His ego is legendary. He once claimed, "My greatness is without question, my human substance, my history, other people dream to have." And in the years that Berlusconi was in power, he built a quasi-cult of personality around himself, perhaps best exemplified by this campaign song from 2008.
C'è un grande sogno che vive in noi, siamo la gente della libertà, Presidente siamo con te, meno male che Silvio c'è.
That has to literally be Silvio Berlusconi's fantasy. A world where he's apparently the only man left on Earth and every woman sings about him whilst fondling produce. Now, obviously, what most people know about Berlusconi can be summed up in two words. The word bunga twice. He famously hosted sex parties which allegedly featured scores of orgies and female guests dressed up as nuns, nurses, and even Barack Obama, which is both deeply weird and somehow deeply progressive. Silvio Berlusconi would like to explore a mixed-race, quasi-homosexual experience. Good on you, pig monster. But that is just the beginning. He owns a stake in TV channels, some of which have broadcast shows that have been criticised for their coarse content, including literally treating women like pieces of meat. But that's not all. He also owned a football team called AC Milan.